we're going to teach you 3 essential crossing techniques. So if you want to upgrade your crosses from tame lashes into full-blown miracle whips and just make assists as if you were getting paid for it, you should definitely keep watching. Someone hit that. And we can start out with
the swinger,
which, okay, it's a totally self-made up name for that classic standard cross that comes in behind the defenders with a little bit of swerve on that hopefully the strikers can just run into and head or volley into the goal. And it's a really useful cross because if you're over here, it's basically going to move a little bit away from the keeper, so it's not as likely that he or she is going to come out and claim it. If you're inverted, it only enters the keeper's area at the very last second, where hopefully the striker's just going to connect and flick it through onto the goal. What you need here to make a really good cross is obviously that you get that swerve on it, you get a good trajectory so it just hits the striker's stride, and also that you get a little bit of speed on it. Potentially also, if you're very good, that you get a little bit of dip. So it only enters that danger area where you want the striker to head the ball at the very last second, so it's not as easy to claim for the defenders or the keeper. Now, what you also need to keep in mind, and I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, my coach told me that if I'm in a good position to cross, my job is to cross the ball, and that's it. Then it's the striker's job, their responsibility to be in the box. And if they're not, it's not my problem. But I actually disagree. Now, if you're out here, you want to cross the ball. What you need to do is to look up. Because you might make the best cross in the world, but if there's no one in there, crossing is kind of stupid because you're going to lose the ball. So if you're out here, look up. If there is a striker in the box, cool. Then you need to worry about matching the trajectory and the pace to their stride, their run, so they can just run into the ball and not have to stop and run back into the box and try to slot on it into the goal. However, if there's no one in the box, you either stop the ball, pass it back, or you try and go towards the goal line to buy your strikers a bit more time to get in the box. What you do then, I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But if you've decided that you're going to try and attempt a cross, what you need to focus on then is your technique. Now, I'm not going to run straight on the ball if I want to hit the area where the 7-a-side goal is placed. No, I'm actually going to angle my body and my plant foot a little bit. 40 degrees is pretty good. I'm going to keep looking that way so I can get that swinger on the cross, okay? So you come up, you plant your foot a little away from the ball so you can get your body slightly over the ball, and then you swing your foot and hit the side of the ball that's closest to you, a little bit out on the side and a little bit below the middle, right around here, and you use that part, the high part of the instep, because that allows you to connect with the ball and then almost drag your foot around the side of the ball to start creating that spinning motion. Then also on your follow through, obviously you let your foot keep going across the ball to kind of emphasize that spinning motion, but you also need to kind of make your foot go up and have a firm end to your follow through to hopefully create a little bit of dip from topspin as well on the ball. So if you can create that swerve, create that little bit of topspin, it's going to be a very, very nice cross. And hopefully it looks a little something like this. And I know that making a good cross might look easy if you can do it, but if you haven't quite gotten the hang of it yet, I would start working on only getting the technique right. Then after that, I would build on the direction on the cross on top, and finally, I would end up with also getting a bit of motion and finally speed on it. It's a bit of a stepping stone, a ladder. Work up from the bottom, and eventually, you're gonna get there. Miracle whip. However, if you're in a situation where you're facing a team that would make Mourinho cry tears of joy because they have 10 defenders in the box, you can try the floater. Now, obviously, you also need a couple of really tall strikers in there yourselves. They're my size. Don't bother with the floater because they need to be able to win a physical tussle and get a header off on goal. But what you basically want to do here is just like chip a ball into the box and see what happens. Then at least you clear the first line of defenders, and hopefully you have some strong teammates in there who can beat off the defenders and get some sort of chance on goal. Now obviously this also requires more of your strikers, because not only do they have to beat away the defenders, it also takes a little bit more of them for the actual header, because they can't just run into it and just boop, direct it onto goal and there's enough power on it. It all has to come from them. But if there is a lot of defenders in the box, give it a go. Either the direct, like I did, or slightly more curled floater into the box. Now the technique to use for the straight floater is that you come up to the ball, your plant foot kind of more or less points to the place you want the ball to go. And then it's really important that it's almost like chipping a golf ball, right? That you get nice and low under the ball with the very front part of your forefoot, and your follow through needs to be really short and stop the foot quickly to get that nice chip under the ball. What's also very important is that you try to not make an eternal floater. You don't want the ball to hang up there forever, because that's a big invitation for the keeper to just come out and be like, I can get that. So he goes out and claims the cross. So it needs a bit of airtime, but not too much. And it should look something like this. However, if you're a little bit further back and you need a little bit of spin with that floater, you can also do the curve variation, where your plant foot, again, points 45-ish degrees away from where you want the ball to go. And then it's the same principle of getting nice and low under the ball, hitting it low with that inside part of your forefoot. And then as you swing your foot through the ball to create that spin, you also make sure to lift your foot up to get it nice and chipped. Again, focus on not making it too high. Give it a bit of drive and get in there. And hopefully it looks a little something like this. Now fight for it! Yeah! And the last one is the low cross, which you can actually use to either drive the ball across the face of the goal for an easy tap-in, or you can use it to do a slightly more controlled cutback for a teammate to run into and hopefully score. And I would say that typically the low cross is very nice to do if you are inside the box and you somehow manage to get down to the goal line. And then what you do is basically decided by what you see when you're looking up. Don't just look at the ball and just smash it and hope for the best. It doesn't really always work. So instead, look up and see that if you have an attacker around the edge of the keeper's box running forward, you can try and drive the ball across the face of the goal for them to slide or run into and tap the ball in. Of course, depends on where the keeper is, but you know what I mean. But it could also be that if you're in this position, you're really dangerous, and if there are defenders running back, they're probably focused on coming back and covering that area immediately in front of the goal in the keeper's box. That leaves some space behind them. So if you have a striker that's clever enough to just hold his or her run a little bit, go back, or you just have a teammate rushing forward from outside the penalty box, you can just make a cutback, a pass going a little bit backwards in the box for them to basically just run into, try and hit the target and have a really big chance of scoring. So look up when you're down here, always. And the technique you're gonna use is very much dependent on which type of cross you're gonna go for. So let's say we start with that hard-driven pass across the goal. Now here, you want your standing foot to point ever so slightly angled off where you want the ball to go, 10, 15, 20 degrees. And then you want to get your body over the ball to keep the ball nice and low. And also you want to hit the ball with the side of the foot ever so slightly forward, and then hit the ball ever so slightly below the middle. So something like this. What's very important here is that you get a lot of speed on the pass, because otherwise the keeper's just gonna be like, yep, that is my ball, thank you very much, and you're gonna have a counter against you. So come up here, hard, low-ish pass across the goal with a lot of speed and dedication. And just keep the body over the ball, because otherwise you might miss-hit it gloriously, and either you score or you just get it over the, give them a goal kick. That's not very nice. Now when it comes to the cutback, you can actually also do two things. Maybe you have a lot of time and you have the time to just run here and do a normal side foot pass back into a teammate. But it could also be that you've just beaten the defender, you're a bit more under pressure, and you need to make a quick cutback. What you do here is, it's okay that your foot is not pointing directly at the target. It can even be like 80, 90 degrees off center, right? But here, come up, get your body over the ball, hit it with the top part of the instep a little bit above the middle, and then you kind of want to punch the ball like that. Stop your foot more or less immediately to give it that very fast connection with the ball to keep it low, but also bouncy enough to just go back at a controlled pace. And hopefully your teammate will just come and boop, hit the target, it's a goal. So there you go, my friends. 3 essential crossing techniques that, if you master them at least, will make you a very dangerous asset on the wing. Just remember this one thing. Yes, technique, timing is important, But also remember to look up. You can't just blindly make a cross and then blame your teammate if he or she is not in the box. It's also your responsibility as the crosser. Keep that in mind. And then of course, it's just a matter of training, but also working with your teammates to get the timing and the feel for when and how to cross just right. But what should we teach you next? And do you have any questions? If so, leave it all in the comment section right down below. Remember that if you need new football boots or football gear, hit the link to Unisport right over there. Of course, make sure to subscribe to the channel with the notifications on if you haven't done so already. And if you want to learn more football skills, check the playlist right down there. That was all for today. I'll see you later. Signing off. Cheerio.